Welcome back, everybody, to Theory of Three. This is Curtis, and today we're going to talk about when to say no to projects. And I know it's been a hot minute that we were totally planned on to kill season 1 anyway. So totally. This is season 2, episode 1, and we will go from here. But no, I think the reason why we wanted to talk about this is it's super relevant to what has happened the last probably month or so, to us, individually and together, and as a company. And knowing when to say no is probably the most important thing to knowing when to say yes to a project, when you know something is perfect. Because it's easy to say yes, and it's harder to say no, especially when you don't have money like us. And so that being said, let's get into it. So yeah, I wanted to ask, what are some guidelines? What can people put into place that will, I think the main thing would be, how do you know what a project is good for you? Like, what are some questions that you need to ask either the producer or the director to get you off on a best foot, in the sense of, okay, can I handle this project or can I not handle this project? Either one of you.
I think obviously from the start, I think presentation is going to be a big thing. And I know this might just get more into the political side of it. But I know that I've been pitched projects before that weren't technically on the monetary side. Like the overall project's budget wasn't great. But when they presented the project to us, it was like perfectly spanking like clean, like just the presentation, the way they presented it, the wording, the way they pitched the project, storyboards, mood boards, like generated ideas for gear lists, the crew that they wanted. When they present you the idea of the project in such a professional manner that it's almost impossible to say no, that's kind of a good sign, obviously. But there will be times where certain projects will come up and you're gonna obviously know that it's a bad idea. The issue is to decide, in the middle ground of, obviously there's like the great projects and then the bad ones, and where do you draw the line? I know that for the three of us, even like, something Curtis mentioned earlier, things that have happened this month, or in the last month, we've experienced several different of these kind of projects where we've been pitched some absolutely fantastic projects, and we took them and they went all right. Yeah. They went all right, and then we've taken up projects that were an absolute disaster, and I should have known.
I think there are some things like 2020. You knew, like, if you were to stand there and really like just follow your gut feeling, that you would have known that you shouldn't have done it, but you did it anyway because it was an opportunity, and you look back and you're like, dude, I knew. Like, yeah. I just knew this was not going to be something that I would be like, whether it be something you're going to be proud of or something that you're going to have problems with, or that there were issues on set that could have been resolved beforehand, or just things like that. For sure.
And I think that rounds up to, like, honestly, like, it would be my first point to really just keep in mind, don't chase the money. Whatever you do not chase the money. No matter how much money they throw at you, or at least whatever the number is right off the bat, even if it's generally decent and you're like, I'll get my day rate out of it, and some gear rentals. Even in that situation, you have to take into account everything that the project is involving, all the effort that you're going to have to put into it, and honestly, no matter what you do, really think about the kind of project that you're actually producing, whether it's something you're going to be A, proud of, or B, you're going to regret in the long term. It's like, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to the question, what could you regret in the long term? What is the long term?
So, for example, in this project that I'm thinking of happened, like a year and a half ago. I remember accepting to do a project that I knew was going to be difficult, not so much in about the actual, like, not so much in the gear and so on and so forth that we were using, but it was in the lack of crew that we had. And I knew with the location moves, the travel, how many days we were going to be there. Yep. When they pitched us the project, it was like, okay, they have a budget. I saw money, obviously. It was like, hey, we got multiple days of rentals, multiple days of day rates. That's going to be great. It fits well into the schedule. But when they pitched us what they were going to do for crew, I realized immediately that we were going to be understaffed, like heavily understaffed.
Yep.
And I bypassed that completely because I thought, well, I mean, we'll make it work, right? I mean, that's not going to be. It honestly ended up being like the biggest problem I could have asked for or had wished not happened on the project. And it's because of, and there's always one thing that happens on side of a project that always like multiplies on top of itself. Because when you don't have enough people on set and you show up on set, one thing goes wrong, which couldn't have went wrong if there was, the extra person there or an extra AC. Yeah. And then that problem slows you down by 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes in a week period of shooting, that cuts out 12 hours of your entire time that you could have been filming, but instead you were, wasting time trying to either move gear or trying to return back to the original location to pick up stuff that had been forgotten because you were too busy with everything.
Yeah. I don't think we're all saying that all projects that you regret doing are projects that
you shouldn't have done,
or projects that didn't go out as well as planned are projects that you should not do, because there's a learning experience to them all, and
you'll learn.
If you think that it'd be a good idea and a good learning experience, and you take it and you're able to do it, because being able to execute for the project and being able to offer what skill you have to your customer, which would be, whoever, because that's who really you're taking care of, and if you can take care of it, then take it. But we're talking about the opportunities that you shouldn't take.
Well, I think in some sense, like those opportunities, there's the distinction between the jobs that you can take that you can do and the jobs that you do take and it ruins your career and your reputation. And I think our job comes down to exactly executing. If you know you can't execute it, then you got a problem.
And that's a solid no.
Yeah. And I think in some sense, like our job isn't so much of knowing what gear, like my job, like in a sense of like even gaffing, like looking at when the AD or the producer or even the director sends you a schedule and goes, hey, how's this looking for you guys? Looking at that, that knowledge doesn't come from knowing what gear, knowing how to talk to a DP, not even being on set. It's knowing, okay, how long does it take me to break down, or how long does it take me to unload, or how long does it take me to set up, or how long does it take me to do this, or how many shots are we doing in a day, or see, it's like
how many location moves,
how many are we doing those, and then how many crew are we having? Well, that factors into the time that we have on set, and like all of this stuff definitely factors into knowing, okay, no, guys, and then you turn around and go either, this is perfect, I like the schedule, I think we can do this, to no, we can't do this, there's not enough crew, one, I don't have the right gear, two, or we're doing way too many shots and we need to start cutting something because I can't logistically do this in a day. And that's what, and that right there is letting them know, okay, he knows what he's talking about, or, it just comes from experience on that end, doing it a day going, this was horrible, I don't want to do another day like this, we're cutting this back from 5 pages to 4 pages a day and see what 4 pages a day can do with 1 location or 2 location moves. Like that's what, it just comes down to experience. And then also knowing people you work with, knowing what their rate of, and that's another thing, is like knowing the crew that you work with as well.
It's important.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, I mean, so past like the money and past like the expertise that goes into it, what would you guys suggest as like a step that people can take like right before a project to help eliminate a lot of the issues, like specifically when it comes to like contracts or paperwork, that sort of
I think even in my position, and I think is to ask questions even though you don't think it's necessary. And this is something that I had to deal with as a sound mixer for a while, is where I wouldn't ask the question because I figured I would just figure it out at one point. And if I listened into enough conversations or watched emails but that just never happened. And so a lot of the time I will say, like in the beginning of the project, I will over communicate. I'll ask you questions that you will be annoyed at, maybe things you've answered a million times before, but I want to know them so that I'm sure. And even while I'm on set, if I go in blind to a shoot, and I know I can handle it, that isn't a problem, but I walk up to the director and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions throughout the shoot. There's no sound notes for me to build my product off of, so I'm going to be asking you questions as we go throughout the day. Just be aware. And they're like, okay, that's cool. And you just consistently hound them with questions, not aggressively, but you ask them questions so that you can do your job. There are those type of jobs, but that comes with some sense of being able to ask the question. So always ask questions.
Forced communication is necessary.
Yeah, forced communication is always better than
no
under communication.
Yeah.
Because it's
Under communicating is going to just absolutely destroy you in not so much even the long term, just the short term. Because every little bit of information you don't communicate,
I'd rather be
just,
known.
you know.
I'd rather be known to ask too many questions and to get my job right and do well, than to have the editor call me up post side and say, "Hey, I didn't get this," or "What happened?" or "Why does this sound so bad?"
Yeah, I think you're not going to get a reputation for not asking asking too many questions. You're going to get a reputation for not executing and delivering.
Right.
And that's what's scary, especially about our job, like about our business, is everything's down to if you can execute it. If you don't execute it, there's nothing that you can fall back and go, well, you know.
Your product isn't what do they call that? Not a stationary, not a. It's continually changing product. It's not.
Yep.
You don't have a single product. Yeah, consistent product that you can just offer.
Yep.
It's a service. So your area, your measures, how you execute your job.
And this goes from
changes.
like the individual, like independent subcontracted individual to like a full size company. It doesn't matter. I mean, you are delivering a deliverable, and that's what you're giving to, whether it is a company or to direct to client.
Yep.
And they want to know with a certainty that you are not only competent in what you're doing, but you can deliver it with consistency.
Yes.
And that's what's going to get you rehired.
Yep. And knowing that you can do a good job.
Of course.
And I think in some sense, like, I'll let you guys know what we've struggled with in the past, and I think we struggle with still, is being on set and communication on set. And I think, and I joke around this with Austin and myself, but a lot of the directors we work with, and we found this in the past as well, both of us become, and I in particular become very two-dimensional when it comes to my communication. If I don't like something, I will initially walk up to Austin and there's no filter, and I will say that to him, and it doesn't matter who's in the room. I will say it, and it doesn't matter what the decimal is either.
Yeah. This room is standing right next to the grandmother whose husband built the house.
Yes, exactly.
And obviously there is no time for political communication or translation. There's no way that I can stand there and say, no, not that your house is shit. It's the shot is shit, and your house looks bad because of it.
It's the camera angle.
That destroys rapport on the director that we're working for, the production company we're working for, and so keeping that in mind and keeping that back and and thinking about it.
Well, and I think what we've cut down a lot of it is having walkies on set and knowing I can yell this into a walkie and when I'm outside freezing off. But that being said,
some saltiness I hear.
Yeah. But that being said, I feel in some sense that's one of the things you have to make sure that you keep on track. But back to the subject at point with knowing when to say no. I think communication up front, knowing red flags, and I think we could maybe call them red flags, knowing going into a project that you're going to get something that you can deliver, but making sure that your director's on point, making sure the communication is there, making sure that you're not left out in the dark. If you're even DPing, if you're a PA, all that stuff, all that communication is so important. And making sure that, at the end of the day, your reputation is still there. People like what you do and like what you who you are. Yeah. And if any of that information needs to be there for you to do your job correctly, then that needs to be there.
There's even red flags in terms of communication response time. Even for us, it's top priority that if a email comes in, it's responded to within an hour. And it's not something that we're like, hey, that's a policy of ours. No, it's just efficiency. And the same thing for people we work with. We send them an email, we expect something very, very shortly. Sure. And that type of communication, the further that communication gets out or the inconsistency of the communication kind of just throws red flags before a project. And you're kind of like...
And it also lets us stay in control of the situation. We're always the step first, last foot out type of situation. Yeah. That way, when any sort of communication happens, we're always the one waiting for the response. It's always better, no matter what you're doing, project or no project. I mean, even if you're doing just a passion project, it's always best to be like, the first one to respond, or the one that's always waiting on the response.
The person initiating the conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I usually like, and what I like to do is, if I'm talking to a DP or if I'm talking to a director, or if we are talking to people, a company, there's a list of questions that we go through, and there's 1 to 10 or 20, and it's all about the project. What all of those questions are derived about the project, just to get the information that we need from them, and then we start the email process. And if those questions are being answered with, let me get back to you, let me get back to you. That's red flag, red flag, red flag.
It's literally screaming like, let me ask permission. Let me ask permission.
Yes.
Let me see if this will be approved by the powers above.
Is this net 30 or net 60? What's net 30 or what is that?
You mean net 120?
Well, it's like, it's like, oh no.
Net 180.
Just throw the red flag. It's like a goalie. It's like, whoop.
Wait, I thought it was net 365. What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
But I net never.
This time next year.
Net never.
But I think in some sense there's things that, you know, people you work with, and I think what we get bogged down a lot into is when you work with people consistently, and those people you become friends with, and those friends get hired onto something, and your guard is down. And I think a lot of the time that our guard of knowing, oh, you're a new customer, or oh, we've worked with you before, or we've never worked with you before.
Down.
Yeah, you go, okay, the guard's up. What do you got? Then if it's with friends, it's like, oh yeah, you're on this project. It must be great. Let's go do this.
It must be great.
Yeah,
You suggested I go do this.
Exactly.
Then it must be perfect.
And
Let me jump in the can.
And I think the three of us struggle with the idea that no, we need to still ask those questions. Those questions just don't go away, and those red flags just don't go away. We still need to ask those questions to make sure that our reputation is withheld in the community. And even if you're in New York, if you're in LA, if you're anywhere, reputation is everything. To me, it is.
The people that you know and your reputation.
In this industry is in this term, like your word is your bond, and this is your product is your bond, and if it doesn't hold up, then people will know that.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's interesting, especially what we've done in the past, and I think in making sure, and if we do make a mistake, like absolutely call and make sure that, or email, or make sure that we're talking to those people and going, hey, I think we could have done this better. What can we improve? What can we make sure that we can improve next time? What are the questions we should have asked?
How can we rectify the
Exactly.
situation?
And I think in some sense you get that gut feeling when you get off set and you're driving back to your house or back to the PO, and your gut is going, yeah, today was it was bad. There was
like, if there was garbage, we're below that.
And I think in some sense it's more of like protocols that were lowered. There was things about the shoot that shouldn't have gone the way they did, and some of that could be down to budget, budget and all that stuff. But I think someone, a good friend of ours, Brian, said something to me the other day, and he's like, when you accept a project, you can't about it anymore.
You've accepted what you're about to walk into.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I took that and I was like, yeah, but it doesn't
make it any better.
It doesn't make it any better. But I do agree with him. Like, you accept a project and you accept the responsibility to make sure the project is up to a standard that you are comfortable with. And if those standards aren't met, then something's wrong.
And again, just keep this in mind, or bear this in mind. We're not talking specifically to just any group. I mean, this is pretty general. I would suggest those that are, for example, film students or somebody that's working to get into the industry, to take what we're saying with a grain of salt, because obviously you're gonna have very little control over a lot of this.
Film students, I wouldn't even do any of the projects. There's so many red flags in those. I'm joking, by the way.
No. I mean, again, if you're a film student, take all of this with a grain of salt. A lot of this applies to people who are doing this for like a career, that are full-time into this. And especially when you're starting out, I mean, you're going to get the absolutely horrific shoots. I mean, you're going to have to just struggle through it. And if anything, it'll just teach you what you don't want to do.
What you don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. Those first 4 or 5 years of you doing it, specifically coming out of college, or even just through college, and then the first full 12 months of you working outside of, your film student group, you're going to experience a lot of different things of what we're talking about. So by the time those 12 months or 24 months are up, you're going to have a lot of the same opinions we do about like what we will or will not do. You're going to find standards of your own.
And it cracks me up when I talk to a film student that goes, hey, man, I was on this shoot the other day. It was absolutely horrible. I'm like, dude, go to LA. If you want to see bad, go to LA. Yeah. And LA, and the way I explain it to people, even from LA, which is there's absolutely great LA, which everyone talks about,
which is the cream of the crop, top of the
top, and then you've got everyone else in LA. And when I say everyone else in LA in that tone, it's like everyone else in LA.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not good. And if you think you've seen bad, there's worse.
It's like it's the difference between Burbank and Southside. Like it's so starkly different. And again, like no hate towards anybody out there, because we obviously have a lot of friends and a lot of people that we work with that are in LA. But they know that in a culture where the best are all congregating, the worst are also going to appear. And some of the stories that
there's some
come
good
out
ones,
of that.
there's some bad ones, and there's the delusionals.
Yep. And it cracks me up that I think we hold reputation up so much, but then you get the people that were like, how are you still alive?
Yeah. How do you even make it in the industry? Like, everyone hates you.
What are you doing that we're not? That you're surviving? Like I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? Are you like how do you must be one master bullshit, or somehow you've lied your way to the top, or three. I have no idea. Like, are you bribing them?
It's the artistry of connery.
Yeah. Are you paying them to work on the project?
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, what?
No.
And it's like, it cracks me up also. It's like when someone messages you on and goes, hey, should have been, that was a really cool project you guys did, or hey, check out this project I did. It's like, oh, it's cool, man, but it's one doing passion projects, which we do a lot of, and I'm not dissing passion projects, but it's a whole other thing when you get client and companies on set and you have to swallow your pride when something doesn't look right.
Well, they'll want that, because it's corporate, they'll want that control over the set, and you have to like really release like your inner creativity.
You have to rein in the artist of you and put out the bull and go, the political guy is here, we want to make you happy. But yeah, I think in some sense that's kind of what we've been communicating within ourselves for the last couple weeks, and thank you guys. I wanted to talk about TV shows we watch, and I want to talk about The Mandalorian, which I think is horrible. And then what else have you guys been watching?
Oh man, dude. I started surprisingly enough, because I'm usually not into this sort of like TV series. Actually, I'm split. It's kind of weird. I'm watching two at the same time. I've been watching Suits.
Oh.
And I've been watching X-Files. Now Suits.
now I've gone through Suits before, so this is nothing new to me.
Okay, you might have to fill me in on the end of the story, because here's what I've done. Okay,
you jumped around.
No,
Blinders.
Philip's not right.
Suits.
Philip's not right. He's just not right when it comes to TV shows.
Three seasons to the end of Suits. I don't even know what the last episode is, or season of Suits is, and I stopped at season 4 of Peaky Blinders. And Curtis is just.
How do you watch something and not finish it?
I lose interest, and then that's it.
How? Anyway, Suits. What do you think of Suits?
Suits is absolutely incredible.
What season are you on?
I'm at about midway through season 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good season.
I absolutely love Suits. Not so much. So let's go through the technical first, because honestly, I think it's not so much just lacking, but I think in comparison to something that would be impressive, for example, like Peaky Blinders or Carnival Row,
well,
it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it has absolutely nothing to do with how it's shot. And it's one of the few TV shows that I've watched that I don't actually pay attention to at all to the visuals.
Yep.
It's just such a well-written, well-acted show. And what gets me is the preference that the preface that it's set upon has such high stakes that it's hard to watch the show in just any small segment, because I found myself just like binge watching it, and I hate that because I like taking things slowly. I like having the anticipation of like, okay, I'm gonna get to watch my next episode, which is what I can do with X-Files, because
he likes to take things slowly.
I like having the
You're gonna have to cut that out.
anticipation.
Anyway.
No, it's just I like having the ability to watch an episode and then watch an episode, and that's what I get to do with X-Files, because I absolutely love X-Files.
Yeah, it's a great show.
But with Suits, it has such a bizarre dynamic between one of the best well-represented shows, I think, when it comes to the just corporate America.
Yep.
And it's such a good. It like verges on the thin line between drama and thriller.
Yep.
And I absolutely love those kind of shows.
Here's what I would say about Suits, and I've watched Suits I think twice all the way through.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. That's a lot of content. But what I love about Suits and what I explain to people every single time I watch it, and I've watched all like tons of behind the scenes and how they even lit it. They shot it in Toronto, Canada. They didn't shoot in New York, and the actual background for New York is a shower curtain. That background you see in all the offices is a shower curtain.
No way.
It's a 192 feet shower curtain that they have wrapped around the office. The whole set is in Toronto.
No way.
Yeah. It's dope. It's a really cool setup. But anyway, back to the show. What I love about the show, and I think what everyone keeps, it gets repetitive. You have the same characters. They go out. The storyline is kind of the same in every episode.
Sure.
But there's
It's
overarching things.
Yep.
What I think people stay for is the actors, and then there's a sense in the show that it's mystery, and it's always a sense of being caught. And I can't
It's
say
always
that.
a sense of being caught, and it's all the secrets.
Exactly.
It's everything that's
exactly. And I think Mike's secret from the beginning of the episode or from the beginning of the season of him, walking in with drugs, him getting caught, and then the whole idea of Harvey hiring him, and then you're keeping the secret. The audience feels like they grasp onto this character because his parents died.
Yep.
All this stuff. They grasp onto him, and then they hold his secret, and then
now they like him. Now
Exactly.
they feel like they're part of the secret.
then when Lewis starts probing,
Yep.
and when he starts bashing down doors trying to figure out why this kid is the way he is, and when he starts up this song from Harvard, and it's like your blood pressure is going, okay, don't get cracked. We can't see this character go to jail now. What's going on here?
Don't spoil it.
Exactly.
Don't spoil it, yeah.
But it's like that whole idea. Lewis, I think, is my favorite character in the whole
He's
episode.
such a good actor.
He's such a good actor, and it's not even so much. Again, I say this because he's a very unique person in a sense of when I say that I say facial recognition. He's
iconic. There's no way to
there's no way that you can dislike.
Confuse
but
him.
he plays the role so well.
Yep.
And I think Harvey, the character the actor that plays Harvey is a really good. I think there's a development of his mentality, even like how they dress him, how his haircut changes, how even Lewis changes. And I think Jessica in the first three seasons is just a rock to the episodes.
She holds everything.
She's the cool collective. And I think
then
that's
you got
season.
then Harvey's the hothead, and then you have the crazy guy,
and then you have the guy that you wish you could kill because he comes in and does everything wrong, but somehow he's still liked. And I think in some sense it's such a good show, and I think it gets bland at points, but it's a good show. It's a really good show. So Mandalorian. There's two words: bad show, and then we'll move on.
Again, and take this in like circumference. I have no idea what the show is. I've only seen all the memes that have come out of it.
Little Yoda.
Yeah, Baby Yoda. And I have spoken. That's
that's it.
I have spoken.
No, I think in some sense, like the whole. Let me preface this. None of us have been fans with any of the new Star Wars films, and when
They're
say
Disneyed.
that, they're Disneyed.
Yeah.
And when we say Disney, they're. So that being said, I can't.
Yeah, they're garbage.
I can't
They're
look
absolutely
at.
garbage.
Everyone was saying the Mandalorian is the best thing that has happened to Star Wars, which I could heartily disagree. One, the dialogue is the worst dialogue I've ever heard in my life. Two, I have no idea. Like, the visuals are great. Unbelievable great. Because it's Disney and it's Pixar. Like, that's who they're doing. Like, come on. They got some of the best animators on the face of this planet. Yep. But it's mind-bogglingly bad when it comes to the whole overall story arc. The second episode is literally him on a planet for the entire time. 23 minutes. You're like, if you literally watch, you go, what happened? Mm-hmm. What happened in this episode?
And I think that's one of the things. There's like, it's Star Wars. They're like, hey, we can put an entire episode in one location, and it's just
it's
fill.
Boring. It's
just
boring.
Fill.
And
there's really not a whole lot of content.
There's no content.
If you look at the whole story arc of the past 6 episodes, which at the time of recording, episode 6 just came out, and there's really not much in terms of story arc.
No.
And for episode 6, there's no backstory for any of the characters you meet.
Oh.
The station, you don't know a thing. It makes no sense why he knows this dude. And they're like, good old days. It's like the only way to kick back and make some sense of like connection to this guy.
Yeah.
And
I could have. I mean, I wish I could have reached out through the screen to the person that named the Mandalorian. Guess what his name is? Don't say it. Guess what his name is. Boba Fett was the Mandalorian.
I don't even know his name.
Guess what his name is?
No.
It's the most stupid. I literally bleep myself. Name Mando.
No,
It's his name.
that's the short of Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's
goof.
Mandalorian.
I know, but how much brain power does it go?
Mando.
Yeah.
Mando, but he's
That's
a Mandalorian.
So stupid. That's stupid.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Who goes?
it
Oh,
is.
it's like it's like here's. And I was talking about this with the other some other friends of mine. It's like when you go to like Arkansas and you go and it's like the lake and they're like Little Rock. That's cool. Look at that little rock over there. Let's just call this whole place Little Rock. It's like how much thought came into that. Or Big Lake. It's like, oh, this is why don't we just call this Big Lake? That makes sense. Or Big Rock. Like that. It sounds like an Indian. It sounds like an Indian name.
Rock. Big rock.
Big Rock.
Also,
It's like, no.
also,
Mandalorian. Let's call him
Mando.
Mando. Let's call him Mando. That works. Let's sold.
Wait, they
It's
actually
like,
called him Mando.
yes.
Is that
That's his name.
Is his name or his nickname?
His name. And then he walks in. He gets this Imperial metal. They melt it down. It's like, what do we? Wait. Why is it?
Yeah,
oh, dude,
Beskar,
my
but
favorite,
Beskar, I think
my
is the metal.
favorite moment.
But it's Mandalorian metal. There's actual like.
But there's no lore. If you watch,
There's no lore in the TV show. Like the problem is they're like, oh well, people will get it. They'll buy it. It's like you've got.
This is a whole new generation of. Okay, yeah. I know.
But
what
no,
you're
dude,
saying.
you have to tell the story. You have to introduce it. Like if you're gonna talk about Beskar, which is the Mandalorian metal.
Yep.
If you're gonna show Beskar, right? It deflects blaster bullets. If you're
Yep.
gonna show that,
Yep.
at least give some backstory at one point or another. And we haven't gone through the full season yet, so we don't know. But give backstory behind Beskar. If it's so important, put some backstory behind it.
Sure.
Well, no. Don't even,
Explain.
Tell us why
if you
it's
did-
so.
if you did not play the games, which there's an online game called
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
yeah. If you did not play the game and you didn't know what it was, there's so much lore in that
Oh, it's
that
an
whole.
insane amount of.
Well,
yeah.
The thing, and that's what I was getting ready to go to, is like if you sometimes watch movies, and one of the greatest examples is Legolas in the last Hobbit movie where he's jumping up those rocks.
Yep.
And it's just like you're sitting there with a game controller and you're pressing X and Y and you're playing
Boom,
a game,
boom, boom,
right? This is the same thing. If you took the most basic storyline out of any game that has ever existed,
Yep.
The Mandalorian is just a Command C, Command V, which is copy paste of exactly that.
Yep.
There's nothing unique about it.
Yep.
There's nothing cool about it. There's nothing new except the armor.
First off, yeah, and so the first episode is him with a really bland armor. Then the second episode he has the same armor but has some sort of upgrade on his shoulder. And then the third episode he gets a full suit.
Yeah, full suit.
And
of
he
armor,
walks into this thing and it's like slow motion and it's like the music playing, everyone turns around, it's like I have a Game Boy. I've upgraded my character level 10. Like that's what I see when I watched it. I was like, this is so
I got
stupid.
access to my second level of
Where's my
abilities.
chest?
I've
Where's
now
my chest?
specified.
It's like
Exo armor.
It killed me because even looking at the armor and how they designed it, one, if you go to watch the game, there's 10 different sets for the Mandalorians that look 50 times better than that stupid suit he was in. It's like, why didn't they go and just copy something from the game developers? Like, that looks horrible. And I understand that the Mandalorians are supposed to be in the outcasts, that are supposed to be all this stuff. But there's a guy in the actual enclave that they were in that had much better armor, and it looked cooler. It's like, I don't get it. Yeah, I don't.
There's like it's the whole same thing. Like if you look up any TV show and there's like armor that comes out that fans just like flock to, they make cosplay for.
Yeah.
There will be like maybe, like the Joker movie. Joker movie comes out. There's people across the entire world cosplaying the Joker.
Yep.
Right. I don't think there are very few. I don't think there's going to be very many people who are going to be cosplaying the Mandalorian armor because it just doesn't.
Sure.
It's not aesthetically pleasing, and
Sure.
it's just
There's no thought.
again, I would just throw that over a blanket, and just hearing what you guys are talking about, I'll end up watching it at some point. But it's just like I blanketed over the same blanket I've used for Disney's, entire crapshoot for this, for all of the pretty much a reboot of Star Wars.
Yep. It is.
Because I mean, there's a scene that came out yesterday or the day before that I finally watched of the new film. What's it called? The Last.
I don't know.
Return? No. Why do
We're
I
naming all the good films.
Yeah, I'm naming the ones of the original.
Phantom Menace.
We need a New Hope.
You know what? That's about the truth. New Star Wars film. Just because this is how bad or how badly this is like. Jedi: The Fallen Order. No. Movie.
That's it.
Rise of Skywalker. That's it. Rise of Skywalker. There's a scene where they break into a base, into a Empire-controlled base, and they make their way inside. They come around this corner. They come out of they just turn around and come around this corner. There are two guys there with guns, and they're like, stop. And mind you, I've watched all of the films up until this point, all the new ones. I've seen all the detailed expo about Rey and her power. Dude, legitimately, we're 3 movies in, and she looks at these 2 people with no training and goes, "It's okay for us to be here." Like you just spit on Obi-Wan and Kenobi and his entire ability to just make people walk away with mind tricks.
She's a Skywalker.
Oh, that's right, because she just magically pulls lightsabers out her ass and is able to when she passes gas, the planet just dissolves into the force.
Oh my God.
There's so many things fundamentally wrong about Star Wars in general when it comes to science, right? We're gonna bypass that. But you take every movie up until this point and the character progression, I could give a rat's ass about any of them. Plus, you add on the most overpowered character in the entire series. And I remember,
and then you have the baby with the lightsaber with the 2 arm guards that stands there, and I don't know
the emo kid,
the emo kid,
yeah. Emo rage kid with the lightsaber.
I like him as a guy, dude. He's a great guy. He was in the military. I like him.
Oh, as an actor, he's fantastic.
He's not this guy. He's not Kylo Ren. Can I say the best thing that I've seen out of Star Wars since the old films was the movie or the trailers for the game. Remember those trailers for the game?
Dude, everybody has said this. There were
It's for the same game we talked about earlier.
Star Wars,
the Old Republic.
The Old Republic. It's a big, massive MMO game.
Yep.
Or it still is. It's still a big thing. Not as much. But every time they released a new patch, or specifically a new DLC, they would produce these fantastic animated. What would we call them? Just trailers for the DLC.
Yeah, they were skits, really.
And it was amazing. The characters they had in them, the action, the fight sequences.
The dialogue.
The dialogue was good, bro. And here's the best part. When it comes to Star Wars, and here's my argument against what you said earlier about just show us the reason why. What's the metal called again? Beskar or something. Yeah, the Beskar armor that Mandalorians wear. Show us why it's so important. Give us a reason to want this metal. Why we think the character should be rooting so heavily for it. The way they tell stories is that you will see something. The character will inadvertently hint to something that has existed for thousands of years. Or the importance of something. And your immediate reaction when you see that should be, oh, wow. Tell me more.
The thing is,
where's this come from? Why is this important? This is cool. You should have an intrinsic feeling of tell me more. I want to know more, and feel that journey as the show continues. You don't get that with any of the new Star Wars.
Here, I think we're